welcome to another edition of the Big 12 Mafia Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my partners, and I think we're all bloody from our picks from this last week, but that would be Ute and Moen. How you guys doing tonight?
Very, very well. How you doing? My picks were great.
Yeah, mine were not. So we will go through them, and we can be embarrassed. And then on Fridays, we'll actually see what the score is, and Moen will do that for us on Friday night. So I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. Moen looks like the Unabomber. Is there something going on there, Moen, we need to be aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right.
You're not telling Mr. FBI man that.
Yeah. No jokes on the internet, people.
No jokes.
You will get doxxed at your house, and FBI is busting into people's houses, or you could be like pagers and cell phones blown up in Lebanon.
Yeah, in people's crotches. That's, I'm not carrying my cell phone in my pocket ever again.
We're not going to break that down, but it is pretty amazing what they can do with remote control on electronics nowadays. It's absolutely insane. So Google it after the show. Go read the news or something, but it's pretty remarkable stuff. Appreciate everybody being here tonight on Tuesday. We had a big active weekend, so we'll quickly review that today. As well, I want to invite everybody to follow us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the College Football Mafia Network, Big 12 Mafia channel. It's all the same thing on YouTube. And invite your friends and family. I got lots of people that have been referred to the show most recently, and we're welcome to have them. Ute, top of mind, how did your weekend go?
It was a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to this next weekend. Big time Big 12 content.
Yep.
Oklahoma State, Utah, folks. The big one's coming up. Can't wait.
BYU, Kansas. That's what I care about. I don't care about
Kansas
Utah.
State there.
That's what I meant, Kansas State. Everybody knows. How about you, Moen? How was your weekend?
Ups and downs. West Virginia up by 10 in the fourth quarter. Completely Munsoned it.
Yeah.
Don't understand that.
No.
Boston College did come through and cover the spread for me. Thank you, Boston College.
Well, we'll review all the games that we picked and kind of go top to bottom here in just a second. But I just want to make sure everybody knows we're thinking about them, and we really appreciate you being here. Quickly, to start off the show, right out the gate, we got a $10 super chat. What's this all about, Moen?
Ricky Tungate has given us money towards Mr. Buckeye's next bottle. Thank you, Ricky.
All right, Ricky, thank you.
There we go.
Got it? Yes, thank you. $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Ricky.
Thank you, Ricky.
Appreciate it. And as well, if you want to donate money or become a member of the College Football Mafia Network, just go down a little dollar sign next to your chat for comments. Click that thing. You can sign up for super stickers. You can do super chats, or what we really encourage everybody to do is sign up for memberships. The memberships where we get to know you more and we have more sharing of information. Wild Ute University, bunch of shows on that. There's all kinds of historical shows on there, and I think we're well over 50 programs that we put on Wild Ute University. So it's pretty crazy the amount that we've created and generated in content. You want to tell everybody what goes on with Wild Ute University?
And that's where we look at realignment candidates and throw them into the puzzle to see where they rank up in the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12. We haven't looked at the Pac-12 quite yet, but hey, if there is demand for that, we'll consider it. We'll create something for the Pac-12 to throw in some candidates and everything. So it's a matrix model. It tells you who's a good candidate and who's not, who's fake and who's not, and gives you a little bit more data behind your intuitions with these things.
And I would say that these are all the shows we've done up to now. Obviously, it's been East, have been all the realignment people, different schools that we've covered, Florida State, Kansas, obviously Clemson, North Carolina. These are all fantastic videos. If you have a chance to watch them, if you're a member, go tune into those. And also we have membership shows where we only do members, and those are a lot of fun. Moen, how much fun have we had on our member shows?
We have lots of fun on our member shows. In fact, if you're a member, tomorrow night you're hosting a realignment show, correct?
We are.
Thompson unfortunately had to pull out, so Nate is doing a hit list on realignment. So if you're a member, make sure you get your tinfoil hat emotes up in the channel. Realignment conspiracy on Sunday with the North Carolina Board of Governors. Get them tinfoil hats up there, people.
I was just going to say, I don't think tomorrow will be members only. We're trying to bring in people from the Big Pac-12.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just going to be open. A lot of people care. I'm having Bill is going to be there. Bill, if you watched our show, he'll be in there. Bill Farley. He obviously is he's an Oregon State guy. I'm working on trying to get a Washington State guy, but everybody's interested in this Pac-12 stuff. So we're going to talk about it. And then what's going to happen with trickle down with all the other conferences. It's pandemonium, people. Absolutely crazy. And we appreciate everybody being here, sharing that. So tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, we'll get into that. And I'll put out more notifications tomorrow on Twitter. All right. Let's quickly review this last week. I'm going to bring this up. These are our picks. They haven't been totaled. We're quickly going to run through these games and feel where the misery is. Let's start with Arizona State and Texas State. Ute, why don't you do that one?
Absolutely. So Arizona State took care of business at Texas State in an odd Thursday night game, college football game here. It was a 3-point margin of victory for Arizona State. They were underdogs, believe it or not, in that game. And everybody other than Rock and Rant had the Sun Devils winning, covering this game at least. And that's exactly what happened. So 1-0 start for all of us but Rock. Ouch, Rock.
All right, let's do the next one. That's Alabama, Wisconsin, mowing.
Well, I just want to say before we get to that, I did use the proper Arizona State logo. I used Sparky.
Thank you.
I did not use the pitchfork. I hate the pitchfork. I like Sparky. Alabama, Wisconsin. Alabama went in there and absolutely beat the piss out of Wisconsin.
Yes, they did.
There's really not a lot you can say about it. All sides of the ball, even special teams, they were kicking the crap out of them. So Tyler Van Dyke went down with a torn ACL. He's out for the season.
Yikes.
So we'll see if Wisconsin can bounce back in conference play.
All right. I'll cover the next one, and that's Missouri, Boston College. And I think I won that one. Did Boston College cover?
Boston College did cover. You lost that one.
I lost that one. I didn't realize they covered. So I have nothing to say about it if I didn't win, so I don't care.
Let's go back to Oklahoma. Oklahoma.
Sure. Go ahead.
Look at this. Look at it. Hey, don't skip that line. Look, Wild, you'd have that OU pick right there.
My eyes jumped past it, not on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, so we'll bounce down now to the Washington State-Washington game. Washington State gets the win, neutral site game. Washington State had a lot of advantages going into that. They had this realignment stuff screwed them over, so in explosive offense, they got it done. Washington State covers. Look at that bomber. You even had Washington State in that game. Nice.
Yeah. And then Oregon State did not cover.
Yes.
Needless to say. That
Oregon
was
beat the
disappointing.
piss out of the Beavers. Let's just say it. All sides of the ball. Dylan Gabriel looked like a track star out there.
Yeah.
They couldn't catch it. They couldn't catch a cold during COVID season. Beavers. So
I would have to agree with that. I think that's right. All right. So Missouri, Washington State. Obviously, the Apple Cup is near and dear to my heart. That game was fantastic. The Oregon State game, I didn't even try to tune in. And what the hell happened with Purdue, Moen?
Purdue
beat the crap out of.
Yeah, Becky and I were talking about this on the Big Ten Mafia show last night. It's a race for Purdue and UCLA to the bottom. Clearly the two worst teams in the Big Ten. Notre Dame was embarrassed last week. They decided to take it out on poor Purdue. But then they lost more people in the whole ordeal. So I don't know how Notre Dame's going to survive the season.
That was another.
Who did Notre Dame lose? Who did Notre Dame lose?
They've lost 3 linemen so far this season.
Okay. How about West Virginia and Pitt? West Virginia not covering.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Okay, do not pick West Virginia. Do not pick Florida State. Do not pick. How many schools now have come in that are way ahead, supposedly in their rankings, and then just get absolutely blown out?
I don't know. But from West Virginia, Neil Brown has to go. I know you had
He's
some
lost the
optimism
team.
in him. You had some optimism in him, but he needs that whole staff needs to I'm sorry, you're up 10 points in the fourth quarter, and you let Pitt score 14 points on you. That's unforgivable in the backyard brawl.
And it's painful losing to Pitt back-to-back. Cincinnati, then West Virginia in the backyard brawl. Gosh, guys, get it done versus those Pitt Panthers. That's a heartbreaking loss by West Virginia.
You know they can come back, and you still allowed them back in the game.
Yeah, it was not pretty at all. And I think I'm going to forswear picking. I'm not going to pick West Virginia more this year. I might lose some, but I'm not going to pick them. And I'm certainly not going to pick Florida State this year, even though I'm a fan of both schools. I want to win this thing. And picking teams emotionally did not do good for me this last week. So I'm not going to do that anymore. All right. Anything else about last week's games before we move on to the next
Florida State. Yeah, let's just keep talking about Florida State for a second. What
you bet.
in the heck is going on in Tallahassee? What is going on? I mean, you had almost 2 weeks to prepare for Memphis, and you lose to Memphis in Tallahassee. I cannot believe it. I can't believe it still. It's like almost like a fake score. Like, what is happening in Tallahassee? I don't think I've seen anything like it. This collapse is a 4-game losing streak. Norvell, question marks. Like, how long is this guy going to have a job for?
I don't know why they're not calling for his job. He's lost the team.
They just signed him to a guaranteed extension.
Well, that doesn't stop people, though.
Yeah, I know, but maybe Florida State doesn't have Jimbo Fisher.
Maybe you're right. Yeah,
that's why Jimbo left. So
I know that my friends that are Florida State fans, they're all preaching patience. So they went through the original rage section, then they went through, oh my gosh, how does this happen to us? And now they're in, okay, this year is not so much. Let's stay the course, build this thing up, and next year will be the time. They're being very patient. Will they be patient if they're 1-6?
Right?
Yeah,
and
that's the
ask
question.
Yourself, like, this off-the-season stuff with the realignment and leading the ACC, is that happening here? Is that impacting play on the field? I never thought that would, but it's so perplexing right now with Florida State. Is the realignment garbage that happened all offseason with them winning out of the ACC, Florida State fans thumbing their nose at the ACC, is that impacting their performance on the field?
I think it has to be.
We will see this Saturday because Cal goes into Tallahassee on Saturday.
If Cal beats Florida State, that might get him fired.
There's no way Cal's going to beat Florida State.
They'll throw the defensive and offensive coordinators under the bus.
I'm surprised that already hasn't happened. All right. That I want to do a quick shout out for the cooler Greg Flugar, peek around the corner, Flug Empire. Great to see you, Greg. Appreciate you joining the show.
Yeah, somebody who's worse than us here.
If you want to join the show for a few minutes, sell us on Minnesota this week. I'd love to hear from you. Can one of you guys DM him the invite link if he wants to join us? He doesn't have to, but I'd like to invite him if he's available. Let me get to a couple of these super chats. Earl Carr, $2 super chat. Earl is also a member, very valuable member. Bama took the Badgers behind the old woodshed. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. There's really no.
Took them behind the woodshed and then burned the woodshed down.
Oh my God,
that was nasty.
And then Earl says another $2 super chat. Seminoles are a dumpster fire right now. Bomber. Okay, well. Not a lot of people are disagreeing with you, I don't think, Earl. I'm not sure. I've never seen anything like it. Florida State's had some bad teams. What was it? Like 6 years ago, they went 1-11 or something. I just never seen this team look like they quit in the third week of the season. I just don't understand it. All right, Mo, did you get that out to him?
I did.
All right, Greg, if you want to join us, click on that thing, get in here. I'd love to see you. If not, that's cool too. I'm just glad you're here. We really appreciate you being here and helping us keep this thing going. All right, Ute, let's go to your next week stuff. Let's go to your Big 12 report card.
I owe some sounders report
cards.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, let's do the sounders. Go ahead.
Earl Carr.
Okay.
One more.
I am the milkman.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is funny.
Delicious. Absolutely.
That is.
All right, let's get to some report cards.
Let's do it.
Dean's graded out. Here we go, guys.
Let's go, Dean.
All right. looking back to week 3, we're going to have to do some analysis here and get some takeaways on the report cards for the week and everything. So a little bit different approach this week, the same mechanics, but a little bit different presentation and everything. And anyone that's watching out there, give your feedback. What does a school earn? What did they earn in week 3? What's your grade on them too? Because, hey, everyone's got different takes on that. Let's jump into it.
Hey,
All right.
Sorry, can I interrupt you for just a second?
Go ahead.
Should we do shout outs after the Big 12 breakdown, or should we do them now?
Just do it. Let's do them now.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's my fault. I apologize. I got ahead of myself. I want to see your report card, so that's my fault.
Hey, you want to see this.
I do, big time. Nathan Campbell says hi. Ryan Willie's in the house representing, even though he might not be feeling great over the weekend. We appreciate you, Ryan. Hi, College Football Mafia family. Joaquin Morales, Arizona State, 3-0. What are we thinking about them? Hey, Bomber, Wild Ute, Moen, College Football Mafia family, don't forget to smash that like button. And it gets Moen warm and fuzzy all over from what I hear. Is that right, Moen?
It's either that or the whiskey.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Stormy Cyclone, another member. These are all members. I love members. Hi, guys. It's Saturday game with OSU and Utah, the oldest QB battle in history. That would be Oklahoma State, not Oregon State. So Oklahoma State and Utah play this weekend. We will definitely be covering that. Probably older than some NFL teams. I'm positive that's the case.
Yes.
Earl Carr again says, sup, Stormy. Appreciate that. Big Lubbock says he's 7th. I wasn't keeping track of Lubbock, but it's great to see you. Daniel Gygax says, hi, everyone. Daniel's actually going to be subbing for me a little bit. If Moen and Ute need a body, I'm going to be out again for more surgery. So Daniel's going to join us at the end of the show, and we'll see how that kind of goes. But Daniel, thank you so much for offering to do that for us. Let's see here. Let me get these marked. Skaven, yes, says hello, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Skaven. Let's see here. Nitwit says, rock'em sock'em fellas.
The rock'em sock'em.
I love rock'em sock'em. That was a great game. Caleb Ramirez says, let's go. Yeah, Ohio State got to win this weekend. The Big Lubbock, if you would have picked Texas Tech, you would have picked correct.
What's your grade, Texas Tech?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. Cleveland Rocks, good to see you, Cleveland Rocks. Another member says, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. David Frame checks in saying, Neil Brown, worst coach in West Virginia history. If he loses the other worst Big 12 team, Kansas, at home, he will be fired. I could see that.
He's got to go.
I could easily see that.
He's got to go. He's got to go.
And vice versa, what happens if Kansas doesn't win that game? What's going on in Kansas?
We thought this was going to be a massive game in the Big 12, right?
We did.
We were talking about it all off season. It's probably on ESPN Plus.
But Leipold's not going anywhere, but they will fire that offensive board.
Daniel Kopcha, another member, says, too bad the Beavers couldn't have the OSU trifecta on Fox Saturday. Marshall versus Moen's Buckeyes at noon. Wild Utes, and the Cowboys at 4. Lots of OSUs. All right.
That's clever, Daniel.
I think Oregon State plays at night on the CW.
Do they? Okay, well, at least they're on TV. Rock Chalk 94, another member, says, if the Pac-12 is coming back, can we hire old George Kliavkoff? I don't think so. I don't think so. Again, Greg checking in saying, staying. I'm not sure if that's probably in reply to a post.
It's probably about my call to fire Neil Brown.
Oh, okay. He's saying staying. Okay. Thank you, Greg, so much for being here. Earl Carr says, college football, peek around the corner. Greg Flugar, hey, brother, go Gophers. Getting a shout out for the Gophers. That's pretty cool. David Frame says, West Virginia needs to rebuild. It's going to take time to do that. Nitwit, all summer I hear that this was a different West Virginia team. I have nothing to say.
Last year.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're 0-0 in conference, right? They haven't lost a conference game. They could still make the playoff.
Go Black 45. FSU knows what to do. You must eat the poo. Yeah, that's from that one post that ignorant guy did. And one more shout out here from Grayson Ganoush. Says, hello, Mafia family. Been a long time. Grayson's great to see you. I appreciate you being back, man. You got to make this thing a regular every week. We loved seeing you. I think that's all the new ones, guys. Yep, Grayson Ganoush is the last. All right, you go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
All right, who wants to look at the report cards here?
I do.
Grades here from this last week.
I do.
Did we have any flunkers?
Yes.
Let's see. We'll find out if we have any flunkers, okay?
Yes.
All right, here we go, y'all. So getting into it, team by team here, Iowa State had a bye. So week 2, they had a B+ rating, and a bye week 3. So they had a clean slate. We'll see what they do next week. All right, here we go. The excellent performers. And just to give everybody a heads up, this is how this is reviewed here. So we're going to look at the actual score of the game, the result, the actual score versus what Las Vegas predicted the score was going to be before the game. That's how we're judging this, okay? Here we go. No surprise there. The KSU Wildcats, EMA, baby. Look at that. So you can see to the bottom right side, the implied score versus the actual score. The implied score is what Vegas spread thought the score was going to be before the game. And the actual score is what happened. So K-State was supposed to win 36-26, and they pounded Arizona 31-7. A grade. A grade. You pounded Arizona. Told you guys they're fool's gold. Fool's gold, fool's gold. Arizona's fool's gold. 2 players shut down McMillan, and they're done. All right, so let's move on here. The Houston Cougars. The Houston Cougars got an A grade. What do you guys think of that? Houston beating Rice down 33-7.
Well, Houston's bad. Anything's better. I don't know. A? Really?
Oh, yeah, A. Look at that. They were supposed to win by 4 points, 24-20, and they won 33-7. So this, again, isn't a power ranking, right?
No,
this
I
is not a
understand.
power
I
ranking.
get it.
This is a ranking based on the expectations for your football team.
Week to week.
And they outperformed it. Yep. So Houston outperformed it.
They did, but it's Rice. It's like beating up orphans with polio. All right.
I get that, but Moan, the betting lines before the game were 24-20. That's what they were saying. They thought that Rice was basically right there with Houston, and Houston punished them. So that's an A grade right there. You don't want to give them an A, Moan?
Listen, it's Rice. I get what your formula is, but
yeah. So let's just. But I think what Ute is saying though is that this is a week to week.
Sure.
Thing, right? Next week, when they, if they lose again, they could go from an A all the way down to a D again. So it's not an average. Yeah, it's not an average. This is not an average.
This is not a power rank. Houston's the worst team in the Big 12. But based on what people thought they were going into this game versus how they performed at an A level. That's what we're saying here.
I appreciate your math and your equation. I just disagree.
All right. Well, I agree with it. So two versus 1.
All right, here we go. So let's move on here. You guys aren't going to like this one either. Then the Colorado Buffaloes, an A- grade. Like they were supposed to win. Vegas thought it was going to be 33-26. Close game. And they pounded Colorado State 28-9. That is good for an A- grade.
So can I ask a question? There's one thing we could throw in the formula, and that is what are they rated now versus what they were anticipated to be rated at the beginning of the season. I'm not saying we need to change it now, but it would be interesting to see how that bar goes up and down depending on what they were supposed to do.
So you want to see like their implied ranking out of all those?
Yeah, just basically as you go from week to week. Yeah. Anyways,
rankings
not
right
now.
I can help with that.
I don't disagree with that at all. I agree.
All right, so Shiloh Sanders, big day. Colorado, big day, honestly, after putting a D- grade versus Nebraska. And you guys said the flunk. You guys wanted to flunk them out last week. You know what? Probably should have flunked them. D-. They improved an A- performance in week 3 because of the pounding Colorado State. So nice job, Buffs. Okay. Here we go. We're outside of the A tier now. We're looking at the B performance team. So we're looking at above average. A C is average. If you perform exactly like Vegas thinks you'll perform, you get a C. If you outperform, you get an A or B. So here we go. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, they pounded down Tulsa 45-10. That was the actual final score. Vegas thought it was going to be a beatdown. That was going to be 40-23. Hey, that's good for a B+ right there. They beat a bad Tulsa team, and now this next week, Utah, Oklahoma State, that big showdown. Can't wait to go over that here over the next couple of days. All right, here we go. Let's move on. Arizona State. So Arizona State, this one was a bit tricky, okay? So the implied score was Texas State 31,
right?
Arizona State 28 based on the betting lines.
Right.
Texas State was favored. Arizona State flipped that and won 31-28. So they outperformed the average, and they got a B grade. And the Moan, there's no Sparky there. It's that fork. So Hopefully,
there's not enough change there, so I would agree. Yeah,
exactly.
there's no change.
All right, let's move on here. So Baylor gets a B grade. They beat down Air Force. They're supposed to beat down Air Force. Air Force isn't a good team. We don't know what Baylor is still, but as far as the expectations, they outperformed it a bit. Baylor gets a B grade. Look at that, the Cougs, A- in week 2, and they get a B grade in week 3. What do you think about that, Bomber?
I just going on the same formula that we were just doing. Why isn't it? Because they way outpaced the implied score by another 9 points. Why isn't that an A?
Why isn't this an A?
Yeah.
So we had a 10-point margin right there. BYU wins by 20 points.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Wyoming, there's some subjectivity that goes in this. Wyoming's a bad football team. And so, hey, you outperform the C. It's above average. It's good.
That's, if you scroll back and this is probably not a good
idea.
Hey,
are you disputing my grades here?
Yeah, I am. Because if I look at this comparison to what you just did for Houston, for instance, they're not being treated the same. It's okay. Go ahead. It's your math. I trust you. Go on.
Hey, so B grade there, okay? For the Cougars.
Sure.
All right, then we're looking at the B grade for Cincinnati here. So Cincinnati beat Miami of Ohio. So they outperformed the expectations. B grade. They don't like the fact that Miami of Ohio is a rivalry game, but it is. And so Cincinnati came out with the win. Good job. B grade. Okay. Texas Tech. There we go. I know some folks out there in Lubbock want to see this too. So they beat down North Texas pretty bad. They threw a bunch of points on them and everything they were supposed to. This game was supposed to be a shootout too. B grade. The opponent, I don't know. How good is North Texas? There's some subjectivity in this again. I give it a B grade, performance-wise.
Okay.
All right, let's go to UCF. UCF, 29. They were supposed to lose 29-31. They won 35-34. So basically right on point there. They did get the win, but it was a 1-point margin of error right there. UCF performed slightly above average, B- grade. They didn't necessarily punch that out of the park or anything, but better than average. So B- for UCF beating TCU. Moan, what do you think about that?
I disagree based on the eyeballs. UCF was down 21 points, roaring back and upset the TCU Horned Frogs.
On the road, yeah.
I think they've got the best back in the Big 12. I don't even think it's close. Ollie Gordon is performing on the level that Harvey. Eyeball score, I give him an A.
You give UCF an A. Eyeballs.
I'm back down.
Okay. Well, the dean gives them a B-.
They come back and win, but you're saying they should have won anyway? Is that the argument?
No, I'm saying that the implied score was 31-29. So it's supposed to be a 2-point game regardless.
But they were supposed to lose.
Sure.
But you had them flipped.
Well, yeah, a C, remember, is average. A C is basically the middle, right? So if you get above a C, it's above average.
Okay. All right.
There we go. So B- for UCF. All right, we're going to look at the average performers here. And I'll give the Utes a C- here. So the Utes, they won by 17. They were supposed to win by 20. Yeah, there was more points that Utah State scored. Utes scored more points than anticipated. All in all, look, I'll take it. Isaac Wilson had his first game and everything, but it didn't blow anyone away. C-, I think it's a little bit below average.
I would agree with that. But your main quarterback was, he was a freshman QB. So I totally agree with what you've said here. Absolutely.
The Utes for the last 2 weeks have scored C-. They need to play better football. They're capable of playing a lot better football. If they play B-level football, they'll beat Oklahoma State. They don't need to play A-level football, I don't think. They can just play B-level football. They'll get the win this week. But C- and C- for the Utes so far. So, hey, if you think that I'm juicing the grades for anybody, just take a look at that. C-. All right, here we go. Below average, we're getting there near the end here, okay? So here's the below average D grades. West Virginia. Why
isn't this an F? Can I just I wish Couz was in the house. I'm curious how he would rank his own school. Justin, if you're still watching, in your comments, what would you rate your school? Or Daniel Gygax or all the other West Virginia fans? We have a bunch of West Virginia fans that watch. Give us your score. Because if this was BYU, I would have them in an F minus. So
yes. So at the end of the day, it's based on the data. It doesn't matter how you lost. It just matters you lost, right? And what score you lost by.
That's
something to consider. Like the human element of how you
Right.
lost feels worse than the actual fact that you did lose and like the point spread you lost by.
Right.
So like
right.
that is where the emotional part comes in. This is just strictly based on final scores, right? So like, hey, it sucks you lost that way and everything, but at the end of the day, it was supposed to be a dang close game. West Virginia is supposed to win by 2. They lose by 4. We all know what happened at the very end of the game and everything. Still, they get a D grade. D grade for West Virginia. They lose the game. How they lost the game, tough.
Really quick, I'm just inviting everybody leaving comments. If you're going to give a grade, attach a school to it. Just saying it's an A, it's a D, it's an F. Assign a school to it, because we're not going to be sure which one is the school you're referencing. So if you're in the comments, we will read the comments, but please attach the school you're talking about. All right,
what do folks think about West Virginia? Is that a D level performance? Is an F?
Well, Daniel Gygax says I'll give my rating D. West Virginia blew a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left. It hurt.
So he's in concurrence here with the grade provided.
David Frame says an F. Let's see here. I'm just going through these. I have a bunch that are in here, but they're not attached to a school, so we have to assume. David Frame, I'm guessing, is talking about West Virginia in context. Let's see here. Jan Hulk says West Virginia gets a D. Great to see you, Jan Hulk. Yeah, good to have you here, man. We really appreciate it. Again, Daniel Gygax says, but the West Virginia game was close. Close doesn't matter in these calculations, right?
Well, the end score, if it's close, does matter.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
But you know what? Like at the end of the day, it's not about the flow of the game. It's about the end score.
Agreed.
But there's some flunkers. Don't worry. There's some flunkers this week.
All right. Keep going. Yeah, we're good. I think
we're getting D grade. D grade. They blew that big lead and everything. They're supposed to win this football game. You're at home. D grade. This one could have been maybe like a D plus, but really D. Throw a D out there. So that's a tough one.
What were they up? 14 or 21?
21.
Yeah,
these big leads, these Big 12 teams are blowing. Cincinnati, West Virginia, TCU.
Yeah.
Hold on to your lead.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. Okay, keep going.
All right. We've got some flunkers now.
Flunk. F for flunk.
Okay, so
I'm ready.
The Arizona Wildcats get the first flunk of the year.
Oh, brother.
The implied score, Vegas thought it was going to be a 36-26 game. It turned out 31-7. They got housed.
Overrated.
Overrated.
As you said in the preseason, Arizona was not real. It was a shadowy myth to start the season.
So there's the first flunker right there. I think that we all realize why it's a flunk. They just got beat down pretty dang bad. It wasn't close, really, and it's supposed to be a good game. Got exposed a little bit. So F for Arizona. And then lastly, the Jayhawks.
Again.
The Jayhawks, week 2, you get a D. Week 3, you get an F. Man, this was a hard game to watch, guys. I don't know if you watched the end of this too, but a KU was supposed to win by 10 points and score 34. They scored 20. And they lose the game at home on that, I guess you can call it a home field advantage or whatever, at the soccer field out there in Kansas City. But you lose to UNLV, you can't do it. Flunker. Jayhawks get an F.
Again, another school that was way overrated at the beginning of the season. That's why I want to get rid of the polls until like week 5 or week 6. Because you never know who these schools are until they start playing games.
Absolutely. And KU has a world of problems. They've got West Virginia this week at West Virginia. Who do you take in that game?
Is it an excuse that UNLV is actually a pretty good team?
No, because of what the betting markets thought before the game. That's true after the game, but this is all in perceptions. Everyone thought that KU is a 10-point better team at home than UNLV on an early week night, and they got beat by 3 points. They scored 2 touchdowns less than they were supposed to. That's a flunk.
David Frame says, hopefully the Jayhawks get another F next week because my Mountaineers need a win. Somebody's got to win that game.
Somebody's got to win that game. Someone's going to get hopefully above a C to win that game too. Like you can't score below a C if you win. Well, unless you're the Utes, and then you underperform, I guess.
Is that your last one?
That's the last one, yeah.
Okay. So let's run through these. Everybody keep leaving your comments. I'm going to run through them right now. Give us your feelings about Utes ratings right at the beginning here. Hang on a second. It's not the one I want. Moen, I need it to back up. Which was that one? That's as high as it'll go. All right. Give me a second. Let me take that off. There we go. All right. So let's quickly run through some of your comments. NBM. I don't know. Neil Brown gets fired after Kansas. Good to see you, NBM. Thank you for being here and your membership. I really appreciate it. What do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, if KU comes into Morgantown and beats West Virginia, I think Neil Brown gets fired. I could see it.
Wow.
It would depend how bad Kansas beats. I think if West Virginia's up 10 with 5 minutes left, and you got to fire him. He's lost the team at that point.
This is kind of the way we look at what's his name, Napier for Florida. Is he going to be fired before or after UCF? Right.
Right, but Napier was never a good coach. Neil Brown did a good job last year.
Yeah, maybe he lucked into something last year, though. Maybe that was the aberration. All right, let's get to the next one here. David Frame, hopefully the Jayhawks. I already read that. Okay. Want to make sure I'm getting all of these. Daniel Gygax and KU has to go to Morgantown, and depending on who wins, the season might turn around for them. Maybe. Ute, what do you think? Would you be optimistic about that?
The best news for those two schools is like they're clean slated in the Big 12. If you win the Big 12, you still go to the playoff. You could lose all your non-conference games and still get to the playoff. That's the beauty of this new world of college football. It's not over yet. Conference losses mean a lot more than non-conference losses. That's the best news. If you're KU or West Virginia, you could still win conference and go to the playoff. So
the playoff, man, everybody's in it till they're not. Tony Losh and $2 super chat. Thank you, Tony. I'm glad Will Duke wasn't grading my schoolwork. Yeah, he's pretty hard, isn't he? I wouldn't want him to be my professor. Jan Hulk, agree about the polls, but this year's teams are moving nonstop like they should. Comment?
Yeah, it seems like there's been a lot of movement in the AP poll, like outside of like the top 10.
Right.
It seems like the top 5, 7 have kind of remained firm outside of Notre Dame.
Right.
I want to see more upsets though, like, top 10 upsets. There haven't been that many this year.
Erica Cottle, good to see you, Erica. Another valued member of the Mafia family. I don't see OSU scoring more than 17 points on the Utes. I'm predicting Utah by 7, Utah 24-17. Go Utes. Do you want to give a preview of that game for this weekend, Ute?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a huge showdown. The Utah Utes, number 12 in the nation, are going to Stillwater to play the number 14 Oklahoma State Cowboys. It's the first Big 12 game for the Utes, official Big 12 game. So it has massive implications. These are the two of the contenders in the Big 12 conference. Who's going to get seeding priority potentially at the end of the year? It's a really good matchup. Ollie Gordon, stud running back for the Cowboys, has been really lackluster this season. But you got to ask yourself, when's he going to turn it on? And still, that Oklahoma State squad with their experienced offensive line is going to want to get that running game going more and more. It's struggled the last couple of weeks. Oklahoma State's been throwing the football really good with Alan Bowman. And so Utes, game planning wise, really contain Gordon, press the wide receivers on the end and blitz and get there with pressure to Bowman. That's going to be the game plan. There's going to be a lot of pressure. This Ute defense matches up very well versus Oklahoma State. The Utes historically have struggled with running quarterbacks. Bowman is not that. I think that Utah's going to like the matchup. I think they're going to move the football and offense with Rising back. They've got the experience to get it done. I do see Utah winning this football game pretty comfortably, guys. 10 points.
Okay. You want to add anything to that, Mo?
Yeah, I see Oklahoma State winning this game very comfortably. Points.
You want to make a bet on that, Moan?
It's at
I'll
Stillwater.
throw it down right now.
What do you want to bet?
Let's bet a bottle.
Let's set the over-under on Cam Rising, how long he lasts in this game.
Cam Rising will make it through the game.
So I'm going to say, since I'm in the middle of all this, I honestly think Oklahoma's going to win because it's at home. They're a touchdown favorite, in my opinion, at home. Cleveland Rocks, $10 super chat. Another member says, help keep the lights on. Thanks so much, Cleveland Rocks. Enjoy your show. Keep up the great work. Go K-State. We'll have to see what happens. You guys are in Provo, and it's a night game. The last 25 night games in Provo, BYU's 22-3-1.
Be 22-4-1.
It's
K-State's a good football
It's
team.
a hard place. It's a hard place to win at night. I'm not saying they're better. I'm not saying they're
I just
better.
wanted the BYU has the offensive firepower to match up with K-State.
We will certainly find out. Lots of debate about.
Are you going to the game, Nate?
I'm not. I wasn't able to afford season tickets, so. But I am putting a call out. If anybody wants to get together for lunch on Friday, if you're a K-State fan, send me a DM on Twitter, and we'll set it up. I can meet you somewhere in Utah County, which is where the stadium is, and we can go to lunch if you guys want to do that. So it's open invitation. If you guys want to do that, send me a DM, and we'll arrange it. Get it put together if you're coming to Provo. Keep chopping says best team in the Big 12 is Pitt. At least that's what Pitt says. That's hilarious. Well, they're 2-0. That's hilarious. Nothing to say there. Tony Lawson says Arizona has to go to summer school. Okay. David Frame, I knew Arizona wasn't going to be good after losing their coach. That's one of the many things that changed. For sure. They kept their quarterback, which is what everybody was banking on. Steve Moser, another member, says, I give KU a D, but at the same time, I wonder how Illinois is ranked 24th and UNLV 29th if everyone thinks KU is so horrible. Yeah, don't even get into the voting. The voting is all kinds of corrupt.
You give Illinois 10 spots just because they have Burt.
There you go. Burt Bielema. That's how we're getting it right there. Let's see. David Frame, Purple Horn Frogs D. That would be TCU. Let's see. MBM says West Virginia will give Toledo's head coach a call if Brown gets the axe.
Somebody's going to give that kid a call. He's a good coach.
Is he?
He's a very good coach.
Okay.
And West Virginia would be very lucky to get.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Toledo, so.
Yeah, he's like the talk of like Big 12 circles. Like I know
Is that right?
Cincinnati fans want him too.
He's the master of Maction.
So maybe it's going to be a race, West Virginia or Cincinnati. Who gets to him first, maybe? Kalani L. Good to see you, Kalani. A Ute versus a self-described degenerate gambler. My money is on Moen's bet coming through for sure.
Throw a poll out there, please, to the community. Who's going to win on Saturday? Utah, Oklahoma State. I'm curious.
All right, everybody check the poll on the main page for Big 12 Mafia, College Football Mafia Network, and vote. Vote right now. I would pick Oklahoma State, but
somebody.
Oh yeah, I don't think you would.
Yeah,
I can't do a poll. I've got the phone system up.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. We might. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to get to that. Anyway.
So guys, just to give you a heads up on that too, the spread opened 2 points in favor of Oklahoma State, and now it's swung, and Utah's favored by 2 points. So the lines have moved by 4 points over the last couple of days, the betting market. So the betting markets are putting money on Utah at the moment. We don't know what the late bettors are going to do, though.
Right.
Yeah,
All I'm saying, go ahead, Mon.
We'll do polls on Friday of
Okay.
each pick for all our picks and see what the audience thinks.
That's a great idea. I love it. Yeah, so everybody prepare for that. Certainly keep your comments coming. Everybody's got an opinion. There's no doubt about that. The Big Lubbock says, don't underestimate the paddles at Stillwater. Not sure what that is. Do you know what that means?
They have big like fraternity paddles that they beat
Oh,
on
okay.
the stadium to make noise. It's pretty cool.
I didn't know that. Keep chopping says bring back Rich Rod for
Oh,
West Virginia.
for Michigan, I'm all for it. If you want to
For Michigan. Earl Carr says BYU, I would give an A-. Okay. Thank you, Earl. Appreciate it. Nitwit says Tulane is headed to the new Pac-12. That's a show, or that's a topic hopefully we can get to before the show's over. Certainly the news about the Pac-12 over the weekend, all the schools that could potentially be going there. Tomorrow night, just going to tell everybody, 50 people watching it now, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to cover as much of that realignment stuff, especially around the Pac-12, as we can in 2 hours. So you're invited to join me then. I'm going to have some Pac-12 specialized commentators that we're going to get opinions from, and it should be a lot of fun. It should be just everybody sit down, just have a great time. Let's see here. Tony Lawson, Wisconsin should get an F-. Not sure if I saw that, but Steve Moser,
the Big Ten grades would be, yeah.
Says hard grader, those upper middle class suburb parents would eat Ute alive. Steve Moser's saying eat you alive.
Oh, man, you guys, I hand out a lot of grades. I do. It's my professional expertise.
That's absolutely true. Don't think he just made this stuff up. Keep chopping. West Virginia was in it until the end. B-.
Oh,
Yeah, you can't lose that game.
can't lose that game. Up
Cincinnati,
10 points with 5 minutes left.
I said this last weekend after West Virginia lost. I said the 2 games that they lost to Pitt, those 2 schools, might bring down the overall strength of schedule for the entire Big 12, and that could be one reason why they don't get a second team in.
Oh gosh, it seems like some logic you'd hear, huh?
I'm dead serious. Illinois beating Kansas. I mean, the line just goes down. We needed all those games to win, Ute.
That's 4 big losses, non-conference. Yeah, it's been kind of rough.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. Let's see here. Antoine Couz, West Virginia should get an F. Okay. Steve Moser says B+. And we're not sure who he's talking about. Go ahead. You know who?
Kansas. He's talking about Kansas.
I'm not Kansas. Okay. Tony Lawson, $2 super chat. Why does this Mississippi River flow south? Because Iowa sucks. Okay. Okay.
I have it on good authority from somebody from Iowa that that pig is coming home this weekend. They are taking the bacon.
Okay. Tony Lawson says huge win for UCF. I agree with you. I think that could propel them for this season. Earl Carmone, I thought KSU would be a double-digit favorite, even in Provo. They're right now at 6.5 points, I think.
7.5.
It went up to 7.5. So there you go.
7.5. I'd have to double check, but I believe.
I'm sure you're right. I'm not questioning you at all. Big Lubbock says, I agree to disagree. Well, I think that's us in general.
That's fantastic. Yes.
Steve Moser says parent-teacher conference controversy. The classic. I think that's you and I arguing about the kid, I think is what that is.
I think so.
Yeah. That's a funny joke. All right. MBM, this scaling is just how did Vegas do means nothing. Ute?
Yeah, I would actually push back on that because it's the perception of schools, right? Like Vegas, that's where the money is, where people put their money. That's really what they actually believe. They're not going to say something and put their money another way.
Yep.
So it's really where the money goes, is where the heart is and where the head is too. So, hey, that's where people are willing to bet on those spreads and everything. So they're important. And guys, ESPN FPI, any type of analytics and stuff, anything that you look at is going to factor this kind of stuff in to their power rankings, to the scales, because this is how you measure performance.
All right. Very
based
good.
on expectations.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
You finish? I didn't mean to cut you off. Daniel Geigack says Ute bias. Well, it's his poll. Technically, it is his bias. That is actually true. Nitwit, Penn State Lion. Still got work to do, Grayson. Got to get better each week. I think he's talking about Grayson Ganoush. Big Lubbock says Okie State could go 0-2 in conference play as they have Utah this week and K-State next week.
Could also go 2-0.
They could.
They could.
Let's see here. Earl Carr, hey Bomber, come Saturday. We will see good Jake or bad Jake versus Kansas State. I don't know. I'm doing everything I can to get Aaron Roderick fired, and it's not working. So
no.
I don't blame the quarterback, by the way. Jake is he is what he is. However good or however bad he is, it's just the way he is. Expecting him to do something that's outside the norm is unreasonable if you're a BYU fan. And I'm speaking to myself. I kind of had some expectations that now, looking at it, were pretty unreasonable considering his coaching may be the worst I've ever seen at any level. His play calling and everything, just not good. Nitwit, Houston's milk is not that good.
Great.
Okay. Immaculate in the house. Good to see Immaculate. K-State looking like the Big 12 rep. Well, they'll be on the way if they beat BYU. They miss Utah. So
They do miss Utah.
yeah, that could, that could be the end of the thing right there. Hey, Mo, on KSU is a 6.5 over on.
There you go. 6.5.
I thought it was 6.5, but I wasn't sure.
The line might have moved since then.
You're right. In the last hour, it might have gone a point. The Big Lubbock, I think Holgerson was the worst West Virginia coach. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Dana's. Everywhere he goes, he leaves destruction in his wake.
Yeah, he definitely has the worst comb over. That's for sure.
Immaculate or otherwise said, "Hola." Let's get to a few more of these, and then we'll do a reset. Troll grinding cheek clapper. I still don't completely get why Oregon is in the top 10, especially ahead of Penn State. I would agree with that. What do you guys think about that assessment? I think they could put Penn State in there.
Talent composite. They're taking the talent composite from Oregon versus Penn State. They're not doing it solely on the field. They're taking a look at Dylan Gabriel, all that talent that they got rated from the portal, using that against Penn State.
Interesting. Ute, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And the fact that they pounded Oregon State when everyone thought it was going to be a close game, that resets expectations. Now everything's on the table again. People are going to get excited about the Ducks after the first 2 weeks.
When do they play this year, Oregon and Penn State?
I don't believe they cross paths this year.
That sucks. That would be a good game.
Penn State has to go to USC.
Oh, well, that's
and they've got to play Ohio State. So
yeah, wow.
They'll have their opportunities.
Let's see here. Troll grinding cheek clapper has the best name in the business. Not taking W for granted, but if USC beats Michigan by around 19 points, what does that mean? Texas's win wasn't that great, or that USC is better than thought? My opinion is USC's found some sort of a defense, and they're going to be pretty good. Ute, what do you think?
Sure, I guess with USC, yeah, I mean they're seemingly always overrated. I still see them that way. I'd love to play them in the playoffs. Bring it on.
I say just as long as they beat, if they beat them by double digits, I'm happy. I don't care. Just beat Michigan.
Steve Ohio, Florida. Good to see you, Steve. Candle is 44 years old, highest coach in the MAC. Was an assistant under Matt Campbell. Is that the Toledo guy?
That's the Toledo coach, Jason.
Okay. Campbell. Yeah, Steve sent me a DM on Twitter, and it was talking about, I don't know anything about Toledo is my problem. I couldn't really speak intelligently about it.
Got to get on the action.
Yeah, I know Maction. Couz Corner, good to see you, Justin. Thanks for being here. Dana won more than Brown has. That's a fact.
Wow. Wow.
That cracks me up, that reply.
Brown, yeah, he needs to get fired after that. If West Virginia loses to KU, he needs to be fired immediately. Is that what West Virginia fans are thinking?
I don't think either.
Couz, you're not going to get any more West Virginia fan than he is.
Like Couz, is Brown done if you lose to KU? Or are you going to give him a longer leash than that? What else do you want to see out of Brown?
Tell you what, Justin, if you have a second, you can join the show. We have somebody else joining in about 15 minutes, but I'd love to hear your opinion about West Virginia. Give me a second. I'm going to DM this to you. If you want to join us, feel free. Obviously, if you don't want to, that's absolutely true, or that's absolutely not a problem either. But yeah, if we could have your opinion, I know all the three of us would love to hear it. I don't know if you have time though. We know it's late and your family's first. So while we're working on that, let's move down the line. Tony Lawson says, IOWA, I owe the world an apology. Wow. All right. Big Ten hate. Gotta love it. Moen, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you misspelled world.
Ooh. That's not good. If you're going to burn somebody, you got to spell it right. C. John, good to see you, C. John. It's been a minute. I like KSU by 10. BYU is a bear at home. Pac-12 killer, that's a fact. But I think KSU special teams defense will turn BYU over 7 to 14 points. We're not really prepping that right this second. But Ute, what do you think about that statement right there?
I think that BYU is going to be an absolute bear on defense. It's going to be hard to score points. It's a night game at BYU. It's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. K-State has talent on offense. I just don't know how BYU is going to move the football, score that much. It's my concern. Is like, how many points is the Cougars going to put up? Like 10 points, maybe? 14?
This could be like 21-10 final.
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so here he is. He's checking in here. Justin Couz Corner. What are you doing, brother?
What's up?
Good to see you.
Just hanging out, listening to some Big 12 Mafia. What are you doing?
Thank you so much, Couz. We appreciate it. You look great.
Thank
Your
you.
shows are going great. Great
Thank you.
contributors. Just stay at it. Let us know if we can help you at all.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I do want to do some more work with you guys, man. It's just, you know how it is with schedules, and
we're all in it.
Yep.
Plus the season, right? Season takes precedence over.
Absolutely.
We got an off season to do some of that stuff. All right. So give us a 3-week eval about West Virginia.
Right.
Oh gosh. D is my grade.
Okay.
It is a fact that Dana Holgerson won 60% of his games at West Virginia. He averaged about 7 wins a year. Neil Brown has won 50% of his games at West Virginia. So he's winning what? 6 games a year, ballpark. So Dana was ranked in the top 25 at least one time every single season except one. Neil has never been ranked in the top 25 in 6 seasons, five and a half seasons technically.
I didn't know that. He didn't get ranked last year. I thought he got ranked last year.
I think some of the polls had us in the postseason rankings, maybe at the end.
Okay.
But at no time during the season, and we were not in the preseason top 25.
Right. So tell us what happened. Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, like, so what's the deal with Brown? Like, are we good talking like one more game leash, or multiple game leashes? Like, what has to happen?
If it was up to the fan base, yes. I just don't. West Virginia has never fired a coach midseason in their history. I'm not sure that's their style. I'd say they'll give him at least to the end of the year if I had to guess. But I do think they're going to demand some changes on the defensive side of the football because that's where our problem has been and is now.
Fair. I think it's a fair assessment.
We're one of the worst teams in the country in pass defense. The KU game?
Really? Yeah, the KU game. How do you see this one going?
Well, fortunately, Kansas is not playing very well either.
They're not.
But the problem is the two things that West Virginia are the worst at are probably Jalen Daniels' strengths.
Oh, the pass defense you're talking about, or
yes. Running? He throwing the deep ball,
right,
and scrambling. That's the two things they've struggled against the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
All 3 weeks really. They don't force turnovers, which he's been good. You know, he's been turning it over a lot. West Virginia doesn't get any, so I think they've only forced 1 turnover in 3 games.
Something's got to break, though, right, between those two.
You'd think, but I mean, West Virginia's favored by 2.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's at home technically.
Right. So it's a pick 'em.
Technically, West Virginia should win the game, but
right
now we have zero faith in anything in that program, which is
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Let's get to a few comments. We got people checking in. They see you and they want to ask you questions. Couz, the coach Dana took over for, had the highest win percentage of any head coach in West Virginia history.
Yes, that's true. Bill Stewart.
Okay.
He was fired for going. He went 9-4 for 3 years in a row, and they fired him.
No way.
Didn't that happen at Ohio State?
They didn't think we were making the. They knew we were making the transition into the Big 12, and they didn't think he was the guy to do it.
Oh,
Oliver Luck wanted Dana Holgerson to be the coach, so that's what they did.
Hey, I will say this, Couz. Don't worry about Neil Brown because E. Gordon Gee will not fire a coach that loses to his rival repeatedly.
You know that from experience, right?
I knew that from experience.
Yeah. Well, fortunately for us, E. Gordon Gee's gone after next year, so we won't have to deal with it anymore. We'll get that old fart out of there.
Stormy Cyclone, another member. By the way, that last comment was Couz. Sorry, that was Gary Gygax, Doug Gygax. Daniel Gygax. Storm Cyclone says, Couz, Toledo worked for us. Go get them. I'm not sure.
Jason
what that
Candle.
means.
Jason Candle. I think
Oh,
who was
okay.
talking about. Is that? I think it's Jason.
It's
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about the guy other than what I've been told by a few people through DMs. I like the idea of the Ohio recruiting pipeline. That's one of our core recruiting areas anyway. The problem is, and this is not realistic, but most of our fan base wants a big name coach,
Right.
or like a Jimbo Fisher, for example, which I think would be a total disaster.
Nick Saban, bring him back.
You got to at least ask, right?
You got nothing to lose.
You got to ask.
Yeah, I
It
think
doesn't
so,
hurt to
maybe.
ask. Problem is, I don't think we can pay him what he would demand.
I would think. Yeah. Steve High Florida says Candle is 44 years old and the highest paid coach in the MAC. Assistant under Campbell at Toledo. Also coached and played at Mount Union, where they kind of know how to win. I don't know anything about Mount Union.
Best
Somebody
Division
wanna
III
educate me
program
there?
in the country.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least it used to be.
Cool. That's great. We got a couple more comments here, and then we'll let you go, Couz. Daniel Gayax again says, Couz, correct having a coach knowing how to recruit Ohio and the Midwest. Is that something you
Yeah.
think that's a necessity?
Definitely Ohio for sure. The Midwest definitely helps, but Ohio for sure, because that's within that 6-hour radius that West Virginia likes to recruit.
Okay.
So yeah, for sure, that would be a huge plus. Most of Neil Brown's contacts were in the Southeast, and of course Kentucky specifically, and that really hasn't helped us.
There's a lot of
helped us a whole
competition
lot.
in those areas. There's
yeah.
a lot of schools recruiting in there.
Right.
Do you have any questions for us? We haven't had you on for a little bit.
I guess a couple. For you, Bomber. Well, man, what's up with how are you feeling now about BYU's offense? Any better after last week?
So, both of these statements can be right at the same time. The quarterback that they recruited to run that offense is doing it exactly the way they asked him to. Like he was a tool and he fit in the toolbox just fine. Mm-hmm. That by itself is great, but when you have a guy in the back end that's caught that, and I'm dead serious about this, calls some of the worst games you've ever seen in your life in college football. Yes. It's very frustrating. It's 2nd and 8, and you run a 1-yard draw, or it's 3rd and 1, and you run a hash pass behind one receiver that's a blocker. You do both those things, your interception and fumble, and you don't get a first down. So that's all I can say. I think BYU's defense is elite. Phenomenal. It is. It really elite. Is. And I think you said it. If it's a closer game, BYU has a better chance. But I tell you what, ask Baylor or ask all at Arizona State, all the Pac-12 South schools. You come to Provo at night, almost unbeatable.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game because both of those defenses are really good.
Right. Well, I'm hoping
BYU needs it to be low-scoring too.
They do.
Yeah, it's got to be low-scoring if the Cougars are going to win that game.
And they can't turn the ball over, right? That's the other thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless Avery Johnson, goes on some kind of tear, which he could do.
He could do that. That's happened at BYU. Colin Kaepernick tore him apart. There's been several very athletic quarterbacks that
he's getting better every single week.
He is. Yeah. So. Yeah. By the end of the season, he might be the best quarterback in the league.
Maybe.
Depending on what happens with Cam.
Maybe.
So
Couz, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does West Virginia have to do to win the Big 12 conference?
What? What?
I'm serious. Like, hey, you're 0-0.
Number one, they better pray a lot. Number one, because it's going to take a miracle. But no, I mean, you have to go at best. I mean, at worst, probably 7-2 to have a shot. Which means looking at their schedule, you definitely have to beat Kansas.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Then they get a bye. They're going to have to steal a couple games they shouldn't win, like maybe at Oklahoma State or Kansas State at home or Iowa State at home. Golly, man. Yeah, they're going to have to go 7-2 the rest of the way.
West Virginia is not nearly as bad as you guys think they are. I think that they can stabilize. They are 0-0 in conference play, right? Like anybody can win this conference still. It's up for grabs. You go
That's
to the
true.
playoff if you win the conference. Like I know it's been bad. Losing to Pitt really blows the way that it
Oh
happened.
God. And their fans will
But, like,
not shut up.
It's been
Well,
it's been
yeah.
bad for everybody in the Big 12.
I'd like to well, I can't say that. Anyway.
Justin, tell everybody who's watching about your show, how to find you and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you find me on YouTube, obviously at Couz's Corner. You can find me on, as you can see, I cover West Virginia. I also do some Big 12 stuff. Do a lot of conference realignment stuff, especially during the off season. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Couz206, and pretty much every other platform as well at Couz's Corner.
Thanks for showing up. We appreciate you hopping in and helping us, Couz.
Hey, not a problem. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always a blast.
Absolutely,
Thanks,
always. Yeah.
Have a good
luck,
show, guys.
West Virginia. Okay, we'll see
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Clap him out.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome. Thank you so much, Couz, for hopping on. All right, we're going to drop right into Q&A. Okay, and I'm going to set up Q&A for us. That we did a great job talking about the games last week. So we previewed some of the games coming up this Friday. Friday night is the night where you're going to come and do the picks with us and kind of see what we're predicting week to week. So we invite everybody to be here with us Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Big Freaking Friday show. I'm going to set up and just put a few things in the air, and then we can talk about Q&A. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to. But first, I'm just going to run through these one at a time. Okay, so the first thing is, this is Scott Barnes, the AD for Oregon State. And after the Oregon State Pac-12 thing was announced, this is his quote. Oregon State AD Scott Barnes says the Pac-12 is looking to add 2 to 4 schools. No limits on possibilities. I've got to get that. Make sure I get that in. No limits on possibilities. They hope to add more sooner than later. We've heard recently Tulane and Memphis very high on the list. They also plan to keep the Pac-12 name. That's not changing. So anybody was expecting that we might be changing to a Pac-16 or just dropping a number and just saying the Pacific Conference, that's not happening. They're going to stick with Pac-12. And I think it's just because they already got it built, right? You don't have to rebuild a brand. The brand's already there. Ute, is that right? I just want to make sure I'm saying the reason.
Don't change the name Pac-12. Yeah, it's already there. There's no need to change it. The Big 12 will keep its name. Pac-12 will keep its name. It's the brand equity part of it. So, yeah,
okay.
Pac-12's remaining.
And then he also says, I asked at football. Oh, no, sorry, that was his quote. So go to this Chris Vanini tweet. You can bust through that. And basically, we're building a story here, right, about the Pac-12. So I immediately, after the announcement for Washington State and Oregon State in the Pac-12, I immediately put out a tweet, and I was picking schools. So everybody agree or disagree, but this is kind of what I was looking at for schools that could potentially join the Pac-12 conference. UTSA, TSU, that's Texas State, Memphis, Tulane, Southern Florida, and then UConn or ECU. Those are out there, but the one that is the top of everybody's list right now, I believe, has to be UNLV. So UNLV right now, I think they were kind of upset they weren't invited in the first place. So they're working on that. What do you guys think about that first run at schools?
UTSA, and that's Tulane?
Yes.
TSA?
Yep. No, TSA. Texas State. Yeah.
State. So I think that UNLV has got to be like one of the first candidates now, like just landing that market. I get that they don't have a lot of fans and everything, but you're going for the media market. Just do it. Just get UNLV. Tulane and Memphis makes sense too. And obviously they're willing to travel out and extend and everything. So you got to go for those two. You got to make the call. And I know the USF's like approaching Pac-12 for membership too. You got to consider that. We're getting really far though, travel wise. And like the question is, like, if you do add a Memphis or a USF, like, does the travel cost like just exit out and eat up all the money that you're going to get by going to the Pac-12? I mean, the travel cost will be in the millions per year for all sports.
Here's my thing. One, they can't add UNLV without adding Nevada. The Wolfpack backpack situation.
Okay, we're not certain though that it's black and white. We're not certain how much that relationship is tied contractually.
Right. From what I've heard, they have to take Nevada. in order
Some
to get
people have
UNLV.
said that. Yeah.
But UNLV wasn't invited, right?
They said that there might be complications politically. Yep.
Right.
That's what you're talking about. Yep.
So if you can't add UNLV, because if you don't want to take Nevada, you can't add UNLV. Let's say that for the sake of argument. Then you have to get 6 teams east of the Mississippi. I don't think that you can add the Texas schools right away. I think if you're going to add an East Coast division with Tulane and Memphis, you got to get some teams that are closer to them. USF, again, that'd be a hellacious travel for USF to be out there all alone in Florida.
Right.
Fly out West Coast every other time. So I think you need to get more teams east of the Mississippi River. UConn, I don't think is available. I think UConn's going to wait for the Big 12. I don't think they're going to move until the Big 12.
Okay. What else?
I just think you got to look for more teams east of the Mississippi.
So how does this look to you?
See, again, you've got the Texas schools in here. I don't think you can put the Texas schools in there yet.
What's the reasoning behind no Texas?
I think you need schools east of the Mississippi, and Texas is west of the Mississippi.
Well, I mean, they're not far from Tulane and Memphis, technically, though.
They aren't, but I still think you need more schools from the East Coast. You need more Eastern time slots.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying I think this would be building that.
I think you do 6 teams in the West, 6 teams in the East. You let them play everybody in the East. The East plays each other, and then you don't have as much travel. It cuts down on travel costs. I just think the Texas schools right now, unless you're going to add more teams out east, because I think the Texas schools would fall in the Western Bloc.
While we're doing this, everybody, this is part of our Q&A, so please leave your comments. We are marking them. We're gonna fly back through them here in a little bit. So if you want to make sure your comment is read, make it a super chat. Obviously, if you're a member, we defer normally to those comments. And then, of course, if you want to join and becoming a member of the College Football Mafia Network family, consider becoming a member and hitting that $sign and picking membership. Obviously, we really appreciate people to do that. And to everybody who's watching, thank you so much for your time. All right, Ute.
I just want to add
go ahead.
Thing here, Bomber.
Yeah, please.
Texas State and UTSA, you're getting the same market. I would say put Rice in there. I would put Rice in there to get the Houston market. I think it's more important to get separate market in Texas. Then you can do 8 West Coast teams and 8 East Coast teams. And you'll have a 16-team G5 that would be the best G5 in the country.
Okay, I think that's definitely possible. Do you want to add anything to that?
I agree. You don't need UTSA and Texas State. You don't need both of them. Choose one. Choose the best, the biggest rating driver out of that. The rest of these schools look kind of right on point to me. And then go with East Carolina. I know that you threw that out there too, Bomber. Like
I did. Yeah, that wasn't on this graphic, but yeah, that's the one I picked as a wild card for the East.
I think, yeah, because you can add North Carolina. If you're going to go try to go into Florida, might as well go up to North Carolina. You've got Memphis and Tennessee. So, like, hey, you can kind of create this Frankenstein conference with the best of the best.
What?
Happy State would definitely be in consideration. 100%.
Talking about Appalachian State? Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Yeah, definitely. I think they need to be considered. There's no doubt about it. Just before we move on to our next slide, I just want to invite everybody tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, we're going to be talking realignment, all centered around the G5 and then the Pac-12. We're going to talk all about it. Going to have some people that are in the middle of it for Washington State, Oregon State, and maybe some other creators. If you want to be a part of that, send me a DM, and I'll see if I can work you in as being one of the speakers. It should be a lot of fun. So tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, everybody's invited. All right. So let me get out of this one. I think at the end of the day, the thing that's most important is you have something that's stable, right? It can't be something that's just going to fall apart. Do I have that wrong?
No, you've nailed it. You want to create the most stability you can. Like at the end of the day, though, if the Big 12 ever comes calling for any of those schools, they're gone. That's just the nature of like the world we're living in. So you can only have so much stability as the schools that are like above you in the pecking order,
right?
As their desire to eat up your schools. So I mean, this is the best of the rest conference essentially for G5 you're creating. Adding Memphis and Tulane are big time adds and South Florida. So like you really are getting the best with Boise State and everything. I just have concerns about travel still. Like if you can bridge it with 12 teams and create divisions, so there's not as much travel, that's great. What about women's basketball? What about the Olympic sports?
Right.
What the heck are you going to do? Like this isn't just football only. That's a lot of travel for a limited pay bump.
Right.
If you're Tulane, you're already making $8 million a year off the television contract. In this new conference, maybe max of 15, unlikely, probably 12 to 14 range. Does that $3 or $4 million offset all the travel costs and the issues with that? I don't know. That's
But
the analysis that needs to go on.
I would just add this. You keep in mind they've got to get a TV deal done.
Yes.
Adding more East Coast schools and Central Time Zone schools gives
More
you
money.
more programming slots
More
to
money.
offer
Yeah.
a television partner. So right now they've only got Mountain West or Mountain and West Coast time. So
Yes.
they need some Central slots. They need some East Coast.
Okay. This next one here, and let me post the link. By the way, the link I just posted a second ago was for that graphic. I want to give credit for the person who created that graphic with those 12 schools. If you guys want a cool one, check it out. And track as schools are added, how that actually works. The second one I just posted, second link, goes to this John Canzano tweet, which is the Pac-12 is preparing to take a second bite of the expansion apple. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but again, Tulane, Memphis, and UNLV are at the top of those considerations. Do you guys see any other school higher consideration than those three?
Oh, I think you got to get Tulane and Memphis. I think those have to be the top two.
Okay.
100% agree. Those
Okay.
have to be
And
the top
USF.
two.
Then USF.
Yeah, USF, in my opinion, USF is the jewel. If they could get USF to come, I don't know what they're going to have to do to support them. They do have a war chest. Let me propose something. We'll talk about this tomorrow night, but I'm going to give it to you guys right now. This is the thing. It's a 12-team league. USF is technically the 12th invite. You go to them and you say, we will subsidize your travel because the TV partner that we're dealing with, if you're involved, the whole conference is going to make $3 or $4 million. So basically, you're giving them a amount of money every year to help cover their costs. But in doing so, they raise the value of the entire contract from maybe 11 million to some crazy number like 14 or 15.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about that?
You can do something just like the Big Ten does. It's a travel stipend that's considered a loan, and at the end of the term, the loan will never be paid back, and it'll just mark it as a loan and then forgive it when it comes towards.
It's accounting gymnastics.
Explain it.
Yeah, I mean, you're just giving a loan that has no repayment terms and will be forgiven at the end of the day, but you just do it for accounting reasons. So that's the reason. There's reasons for it, but we don't need to get into that. If that's going to boost the television contract up, that has definitely got to be in consideration, Bomber. Just thinking though, like USF value, I just don't know if it would do that. You're adding like the Florida market, Tampa market, and everything, but they don't get a lot of eyeballs on that program. Being in Tampa, getting more time slots in the East Coast, maybe that adds enough value that it couldn't be worthwhile. But we're not talking about, to be really candid, we're not talking about big ratings movers with any of these schools.
Right.
So really nobody's moving the needle that much. Maybe 500,000 for everyone in the contract or something, but there's going to be nothing that's going to bump up the contract a couple million just for adding a school. So it's not a no-brainer decision if you're USF to do that, to even go to the conference. But hey, if you can sweeten it up and it makes sense after your analysis, go ahead, do it. Makes sense to do.
It's a build it for the future league. In my opinion, the purpose of putting this league together, including giving a stipend to schools, maybe for just a couple years to cover their travel expenses, the whole point is to make it the premier conference right underneath the Power Four. In my opinion, that's their goal. And if they have to pay a little bit extra money to one or two schools to make that happen, like an ECU, like a USF, UConn on a crazy day, if you could do that and convince them to do it, then what happens to the rest of the conferences? The Mountain West certainly is way under strain. So is the American Conference is way under strain. The MAC, I don't even know about the schools that are in some of these other conferences. But if they go from 12 to 16, and this is the big picture idea I want to float tomorrow night, I think you go straight to 16 teams. You're able to sell the most time slots, and maybe the other parts of the week you do games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something crazy. But in doing so, you're covering football on days nobody else has, and you're banking on yourself. If you put a Pac-12 together with 16 teams, in my opinion, every other G5 conference would be way below in talent level. I don't care
100%.
who they throw together. There's nobody that can approach what the Pac-12 would be. That's
Well,
my
check this out
big
too.
idea.
I agree with everything you're saying there, but if you take USF, that
Right.
puts the ACC in a pickle. If
Yes.
Florida State, Miami leave, that is the backfill candidate.
Yep.
If you're the ACC, you are major screwed. If you lose Florida State and Miami and USF's off the board, maybe USF jumps to the ACC at that time.
Right.
But you could see a world where this Pac-12 could battle a weakened ACC for that quasi A4 spot in the future.
Agreed.
Basically, the battlegrounds, and USF's a big piece of that puzzle, like for a future offensive play. So they bring a lot of value in that way too. But the ACC cannot like this development at all.
I agree.
Because really, they will be losing schools, guys. Like ACC will be losing schools. ACC can backfill with UConn. I think that probably will happen eventually because I don't think UConn gets in the Big 12. And so where are you going to go to Florida, though? If you lose your Florida teams, you got to get into Florida. That is a key to the ACC. And, hey, with USF off the board, I don't know. Maybe like Florida International?
FAU, maybe.
FAU, maybe, yeah. I would just add that they're following the blueprint of 3 of the 4 Power 4 conferences.
Yes.
If they go east and west,
Yes.
they have multiple time zones that they can put programming in.
Yes.
It just makes sense to have. And you know, this is maybe you could have Rice. If you added Rice, you could include them in the East Coast teams. Pretty far east for the. I think they're following the model that has been set forth by the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12, getting multiple markets for multiple teams with multiple time slots.
This just posted, and I have to give College Football Plus the thank you for pointing this out in the comment section. ACC, this is breaking news. ACC presidents have reviewed an altered revenue structure that would resolve the disputes with Florida State and Clemson and keep them in the league. Nothing is imminent, and it is unclear if there is enough support to approve the proposal. So I think following up on your comment right there, the ACC sees they're losing potential schools.
Yeah, absolutely. This is unequal revenue sharing. That's how I'm interpreting.
Yes.
Like, that's a nice way to say unequal revenue sharing. Noles get more, Tigers get more. I don't think the Tar Heels are going to be too happy with that. I don't think the Hurricanes are going to be too happy with that.
That's why we don't think it's going to happen. We don't think that's going to happen, but I think it is important to say that they're trying. I think they see the writing on the wall. The Pac-12, we always thought it was the ACC that was going to go asunder for the next steps in realignment. I think now what we're seeing, because the destruction of all the conferences in the group of 5 schools, that's going asunder. So now all of a sudden the backfill plan, which you were just talking about, backfill plan of bringing in a UCF and a UConn into the ACC to keep it going, it would disappear.
That's got to be on the table. Yeah, but like if you take USF and they go to the Pac-12 and they lock them up, it's going to be harder.
So how long do you wait? That's the risk, is how long do you wait?
If you're the ACC?
No. Well, I guess it goes both ways. How long can you before you force a deal? And on the other side, if you're USF, you've got a bird in the hand, or Tulane. Let's say Memphis or Tulane. And the ACC, man, third-party people are telling you, hey, dude, please hang out there. How long? Because they've been saying that to him for 2 years. How much longer should Memphis and Tulane wait?
If you're Memphis or Tulane.
How long do you wait?
I think you go to the Pac-12 if you get invited, because it's an actual promotion from where you are and where that could be, because there's no certainty of the ACC. It seems like it. We all talk about it, but it's not a done deal yet. I don't know how long it's going to take still. So if you go improve your program over the Pac-12, maybe you still can get out of the Pac-12 and jump to the ACC one day. That doesn't eliminate that off the table. It makes it more complicated.
but
I
not
think that
impossible.
you just have to put yourself. You just look at the facts, what's available now, not what could be tomorrow.
Right.
You can try to plan for that and stuff, but you got to make decisions based on the facts. So you got to go with the Pac-12,
which is exactly what Oregon State and Washington State said. Is screw this. You guys are stringing us along. We don't gain anything. Let's take charge of our future, like Bob Thompson said, and just get in there and start doing work. And then things will happen where they're going to happen. But waiting, I think, is a huge mistake.
Let's put this all in perspective. The Pac-12 came about. We don't know how long this settlement has been brewing between the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson. If Oregon State and Washington State got news of this, that might be the reason for pursuing the Pac-12.
Yeah, I agree.
They got wind that this was saved. And the more important thing is, I don't think this is because of the Pac-12. I think the ACC needs Florida State and Clemson to get ESPN to renew that deal. And I think Florida State and Clemson probably need the ACC because they don't have a landing spot right now. They don't. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to wait and see what happens with North Carolina. That's who they really want. That's a jewel for both of them. It's North Carolina, however that goes. Now, if the Big Ten grabs North Carolina State, Virginia, and a Miami, then I think the SEC would be forced to respond with a Florida State.
And we'll cover again this tomorrow night. By the way, you guys are invited tomorrow night if you want to come. Moen, let me just posit this is a thought process. If Tulane is sitting there and the ACC saying, hold your water, and the ACC is telling Florida State and Clemson, please don't leave, begging them to leave, at what point, these are all Jenga sticks, right? Each one of them is laying on top of the other. In my opinion, if they were able to convince Florida State and Clemson to stay by giving them some ridiculous revenue share amounts, Louisville's going to be pissed. Miami's going to be pissed. Virginia Tech's going to be pissed. The only ones who won't be pissed are who? Wake Forest, Boston College, Syracuse, and Pitt. Really?
Well, so we don't know the structure of the revenue share yet.
No, well, obviously this is just a proposal. This is just
right. We don't know if it's going to be just Florida State and Clemson.
No, we don't. No,
it could be the top half of the conference just gets air.
It could be.
And the bottom half has to just basically sit on it and spin.
It's possible. That's absolutely possible.
This ACC news is coming out if the Pac-12 didn't know this was coming, and as a result of that, went out and took the 6 Mountain West schools. And hey, that ACC invite might not be coming because they might not be backfilling. Let's go ahead and become sharks in our own pond.
Yes, I agree with that. That's possible.
Invite these Mountain West schools and then head out east.
Yep.
All the ACC backfill targets that they had. So
quite possible.
I think this. We knew something was coming. We thought it might be a settlement to get them out, but it looks more like a settlement to give them more money to stay, which I think is good for all parties because I don't think Clemson and Florida State have a landing spot. I think the Big 12 and SEC are all in on North Carolina.
This is what I would say. Oh, go ahead. You were going to say something. You go ahead.
This is absolutely amazing. This is like an anti-milking provision right here, guys. Like this is basically you get unequal revenue sharing based on your media valuations. That's what this being proposed right here. So Florida State that gets all the eyeballs that we talked about all summer long, all of a sudden they're getting a huger cut of the media rights, all the media rights, because they bring more to the table, plus the success initiatives. If you win more, you can get more. Yep. So, hey, this is anti-milking. This is the start of an anti-milking provision. So Wake Forest, you can't milk me anymore.
Yes.
And everything. But the problem with this, look, it makes sense in a lot of ways. But if I'm North Carolina and I have value and I have a landing spot elsewhere, you're going to start giving up money to Florida State now. And you're not making that much money to even survive as is. Yep. If you're NC State, if you're Louisville, like you mentioned, Bomber, if you're Miami, like Miami might be in a position where they're giving money over to Florida State or Clemson. Right. And if you've got a Big Ten landing spot possibly coming, that's not going to sit well. That's not going to sit well. And if anybody leaves that conference, then the media rights will drop. If any school of value. So it's probably not sustainable in the long run. Like this just looks like another fracture of a conference to me, but it is certainly an anti-milking provision.
Well, I think
I just want to say this real quick. I want it referred to in the grant of rights in the media contracts as the AMP provision, anti-milking provision, the AMP clause.
I would, Hey, Daniel, if you want to join the show, do it now, please. We're going to be wrapping this up. I did send you the link. It didn't come through. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll send it again. You want Daniel to join the show?
I cannot see UNC and Louisville and Miami signing off on this. Why in the world, if you're Virginia, why would you do it?
Yeah,
right, that might give you the maybe you wanted to leave and you didn't have a logical reason you could say we want out. If you give unequal revenue share to these teams, then North Carolina can stand on their soapbox and say, you're giving uneven revenue share to these teams, so now we want out. Miami can say, we're a team in Florida, we want out.
So this is what I've wanted to say for the last 10 minutes. I'm afraid I'm going to lose the strain, so just stick with me. In my opinion, this is a proposal being leaked to the news to put pressure on Florida State and Clemson to settle sooner to get whatever this package is that they put together. Come back to us. We're going to give you a bunch of stuff, and we basically solve your problem for you. You're with us. You don't have to worry about joining another conference, and, we'll make this work, make it right. If I'm Florida State and Clemson and I read this thing, what does that say? One, it says the conference is extremely weak. Why would they want to stay in a conference that's basically willing to sell its children to keep you in the conference? The ACC looks extremely weak in this regard. And the other thing is, your final destination isn't your middle destination doesn't matter. So where do you want to be at the end? P2, right? And if Brett Yormark's sitting out there and he's willing to pay part of your exit fees and give you a plus amount of revenue share from the Big 12 to come for 5 or 6 years, do you do that, or do you stay in this dying, decrepit ACC, according to them, that isn't going to pay any money or make any money in the interim? I just, if I have two of those options, I'm going with the aggressive guy that is going to give me more money right now. But that's me, right?
They're going to want unequal revenue sharing with the Big 12 too.
And you know what? I don't care. That doesn't bother me. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Ryan Willie, $5 super chat says, how do the cable satellite contracts talk affect this? Ute?
I mean, yeah, as far as media markets go, like in what's going on, Daniel?
Hey, Daniel. You're
We
muted.
can't hear you, brother.
You're muted.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
You go ahead and finish what you're going to say.
Yeah, so I think that's always going to be something going on right here. Like, hey, what's the carve up of the media markets and how much are subscribers to ESPN going to pay in market versus out of market? That's still ongoing. And that's looming in the background. This seems to be kind of a different animal, but it's all kind of circling around the ACC just having problems in every angle, right? It's just like you're getting hit left, right, top, bottom, everything.
Right.
And it's just more issues for the ACC. This isn't going to bring stability. The anti-milking provision that's being proposed and everything, well, it's very funny, right? It's funny and like it makes sense in some ways, but it's going to cause disharmony, right? North Carolina's not going to agree to it. The Wolfpack are not going to agree to it. So
they might have been in the negotiations. We know Clemson and Florida State were not in that meeting last week that went 6 hours. So
yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you who's going to sign off on it, though, Daniel. It's going to be those Pitt Panthers. They're going to sign off, and they're going to give up all their milk. Hey, we're not going to milk you as much, Florida State. Those guys are king milkers.
All right, let me just do it. Hang on, Daniel. 1 second. Let me introduce you, okay? So Daniel Gygax, one of the OG, I think he was in our second or third show with Ute and I. He's going to come in and help these guys out while I'm out for surgery. And I forgot to announce that at the very beginning. We got 54 people doing it. I might as well do it now. My last show for probably 3 weeks, if not more, is going to be Friday. The surgery I had a few weeks ago didn't get everything, so I have to have a more in-depth surgery next week, and I'm going to be out for a little bit. So Daniel's offered to step in and help, mostly on this Big 12 show on Tuesdays, but that's why you're here, Daniel. I appreciate you offering to do that and coming in.
Hey, no problem. I'll even send Mo and pizza from Steubenville.
Oh, God, don't.
All right, tell us what's up, Daniel.
I'm really a sounder here, and because we're talking about the anti-milking provision.
Oh, come on, don't do it, Mo. No, come on. They've been sucking you, and sucking you. They've been sucking you, sucking you.
Start dancing, Nate. Come on.
You're sick of it. I get it. They've been sucking you, and sucking you. They've been sucking you, sucking you. sucking you. They've been sucking you.
Sorry, I'm trying to stay up on the news here. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I'm just now reading the stuff on FSU Clemson. I've read stuff like this before. Then let's get right down to it. A week later, you'll sit there and say, no, FSU doesn't agree to it, and they're still going to pursue what they have in court. Because, I mean, what was it? Clemson, I'm trying to remember how much it was a month. I think it's like somewhere close to $1 million a month is what Clemson's paying
Legal fees?
In legal fees. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I would sit there and say that FSU is probably paying the same. ACC now, where they've got lawsuits everywhere, easily well over double. So, I mean, they're in Mecklenburg County for 2. They're in South Carolina with 1. They're in Florida with 1.
Do you see them dropping it? That's the question. They've invested so much in the last year in those lawsuits. Are they just going to go for this middling settlement for a little bit of money for short term and drop their lawsuits altogether? It's a question for the team. I find it hard to believe that Florida State's just going to walk away and say, sure, give us a little more money now. I have institutional problems with the ACC I'm going to look over.
Well, maybe it's because they're 0-3. I mean, that right there might.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. Moen, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think this is a thing that benefits all parties. Florida State and Clemson don't have landing spots. I think the Big Ten and the SEC have made it very apparent that North Carolina is the diamond that they want. And Florida State and Clemson are the redheaded stepchildren of this deal. So I don't think Florida State and Clemson have a place to go, and I think the ACC can't afford to lose them.
Okay.
It's just going to be the kickback. You're right. How does this revenue sharing work? Is it just geared towards Florida State and Clemson? If that's the case, you're going to piss off another, 14 members. So
find it hard to believe that they would do that for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I want to show something to you guys. Been working.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
It's really important right here. Okay. Stop the flow right here. Stop the flow. I'm saving this one for a day like this. Stop the flow. Florida State is telling BC, wait, no more milk. The milk is getting cut off. Cut that sucker off right now. That's
really,
what this is
that
all
Demon
about.
Deacon is biting right on the nipple there. You,
oh my
have
God!
A little sympathy.
Stop the flow. Anti-milking provision is stopping the flow.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, so this is news we'll be covering in the coming days. Obviously, there are tells. You could look at the same information 2 different ways. You could say the reason that the Pac-12 is reforming is because the ACC isn't going to bring in any new schools. They knew that, so now they're building it, and that was the tell. Or you could look at it the opposite side and say there's not going to be an ACC to join. If Florida State and Clemson go nuclear and blow the whole thing up, there wouldn't be a conference for them to join because they would be disillusioned. Theory is what they're going for. So I'm willing to say it could be either one right now. I haven't made up my mind yet. Does it tilt the head that maybe they do have something? Yeah, it's possible. But is it a foregone conclusion? That's not what his tweet said. It said it's a proposal. All right, we're going to get to Q&A. Here we go. Shonsky, another member. Thank you, Shonsky. Florida State and Clemson and the ACC should try to renegotiate the grant of rights with ESPN to shorten the contract to 2031 to stay competitive with the Big 12 and other conferences. And I thought I heard that's exactly what they do. It lowers the grant of rights to 2031 when everything else blows up. And it's a 6-year contract. That's what was floated the last 2 days. What do you guys think about that? It's exactly what they talked about.
That this is my world according to Dan type think on this. I still don't think it's going to keep FSU and Clemson happy.
Okay.
Even going to 2031, I don't see it making them happy. Only thing that's going to make them happy is double the money that they're making from the ACC.
Maybe they do that. Moen, what do you think?
I think this is perfect. If they can get it down to 2030, 2031, The Big Ten will be settled with their 4 teams out west. It allows them to build relationships and look at who they want for future expansion. North Carolina State can get AAU status, become a more palatable member of the Big Ten, allowing them to take North Carolina, Virginia, Miami, and then go out west for 2 more teams.
North Carolina State's not getting in the Big Ten, Moan. North Carolina
have
State's
news
not
for
getting
you.
in the SEC.
We've heard that rumor for a few days
These
now.
these Wolfpack backpacks, like, come on, seriously, we got to get.
Let's put a time limit on, though, Ute. 5 years, 20, 30, 31, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, in 2031, like, that's more attractive and everything. I think that Clemson and Florida State would be very pleased with that, right?
Mhm.
Like this, here's an idea, though, a little nefarious, like a kind of a sneaky idea from Florida State and Clemson. Like, what if they're trying to actually just get unequal revenue sharing for the time being to cause disharmony in the ACC and blow it up anyway?
Yep.
Like, maybe you agree on this type of structure, you negotiate hard, you make it miserable for the other ACC members, and you basically force everybody else out, and you don't have to pay legal costs, and you're going to get paid more anyway. So maybe this is putting pressure in a different way, putting leverage on a different mechanism to blow up the ACC.
Definitely could be true. Ryan Willie, another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Ryan. How do the cable satellite contract talks affect this?
Oh,
I think that we cover that one.
We got this one. We got this
Yeah,
one.
Well, we already did that. I apologize.
We already did that one, brother.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
I just want to let you know that it's a $600 million research expenditure from North Carolina State. And they plan to do up to $800 million within the next 3 fiscal years.
If they are building for 2030, 31, I could see that. If it's part of a plan.
Now, here's a question. Which university does more research, Virginia Tech or UVA?
Virginia Tech does, but UVA has more prestige.
Yeah.
UVA has the medical school and their AAU. That's the only difference between them and Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Well, they could try and get Virginia Tech AAU as well.
True. Yes.
Everybody gets AAU. Make it like candy. Everybody gets one. C. John says Louisville is already on the phone with Brett Yormark.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about Louisville. Come home, baby. Come home.
That's absolutely true. I hope it is. College Football Plus says, do schools like Boston College, Wake, Duke, Syracuse are more willing to take less money to make everyone happy, knowing that they would get left out of realignment? The easy answer is yes. They are fighting for their survival, even if they're only making $1 million a year. It's the prestige of being in the power conference they need. Ask Washington State and Oregon State how that worked, right? Troll grinding, cheap clapper. Pac-12 seems more like a middle power, somewhere between a power 4 and a group of 5. That's exactly what we're going to talk about tomorrow night, but I agree with you. What do you guys think?
Exactly. And here's the thing, there's still moving pieces. So basically who's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And do they go ahead and say, I mean, UNLV, that's one board. So to keep UNR happy, you're going to have to take both. You're looking at what's still attractive in California.
Right.
I had a discussion about San Jose State. And that campus is not that far from me, and they mean nothing to the Bay Area.
I don't think they mean anything to the Pac-12 either.
No. But somebody said, hey, it's still a big market. And it's like, well,
they're not a competitive program, though.
Yeah. The AAC added UNC Charlotte, and they add nothing to Charlotte or nothing to the conference. They're in Charlotte, and that's it.
What do you think?
I think it's 4.5. Exactly. I think you nailed it. It's between a A4 and a G5, and that's what it will become if they land it with Memphis. I think Memphis is a key. USF is nice and stuff strategically, but Memphis is with Boise State. Memphis and Boise State are the best 2 programs in my viewpoint.
Moen.
really outside of the power, the two Washington State.
I think you're right on. It is that middle ground. There's a little zone there, between those two levels.
I think the Pac-12 is vying to basically have an automatic berth in the.
Yeah, they're not going to get that.
Well, I don't mean they're going to get an automatic berth, but I think that they're going to be the consistent G5 program represented in the college football playoff, and that's exactly what they're going for.
Not if they're only 8 schools, though. They need to be 12 schools.
No, they need
more.
to get to 14 or 16, I would say.
I agree with that. Here's a super chat from Tony Lawson, $2. Thank you so much, Tony. Why does the Mississippi River flow south? Oh, I already did that. Moen, did you pick that? Grayson Ganoush, Sportico, and Tomahawk Nation both have articles that detail who was disclosed in FSU's lawsuit regarding the revenue generated by the ACC network. Ute has zero idea what he is talking about.
I agree.
Okay, Ute. That's for you.
Let's see. Okay. I don't know exactly where Grayson's going with this one, but hey, send me in stuff and we'll talk about it next show.
I think that's a good idea. So Grayson, send DM to the Ute, and he's a really nice guy. He won't hurt you or anything.
Nope.
And you guys talk in context, because right now we don't know what this means. Out of context, it's kind of mishmash. So DM Ute, and you guys can talk about it, and let's see if we can get something out that everybody can see. All right, we got 5 minutes, so we got 5-minute countdown, everybody. And I appreciate everybody that's been watching. It's been really fun. We want to get the last comments in, so make sure you're following on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube. Turn on your notifications. And then, of course, super chats right now. In the next 7 minutes, we'll do super chats if that comes up. Otherwise, we're just going to go with the comments we've already got flagged. Let's see here. Kalani says, "Nah, rumor is the proposal isn't school-specific, but an extension of the performance-based model they were going with originally." Yeah, I think it's all.
That's not good for Florida State.
I think that's a whole bunch of nothing, if that's the truth. Yeah, if they don't tear up what their original proposal was back to them, I don't see Clemson and Florida State even talking to them.
Who had a world that there's a possibility for a 4-0 Cal Berkeley? I didn't. And the campus is like 20 miles that way.
That's a little different for the ACC. Troll grinding cheek clapper says, "I don't know if Notre Dame will join the Big Ten unless CFP spot is in jeopardy. It's already been in jeopardy, and they didn't join the Big Ten. They would already get a yearly game in California with USC and UCLA if they joined. So CFP spot disappearing is the only way Notre Dame joins Big Ten." Moen.
They'll bend the knee. Trust me, the next TV contract, they will bend the knee.
Eventually. What do you think?
As long as there are people that run the CFP that give Notre Dame special privileges, they will stay independent.
There you go.
They'll still play USC. They'll still play They've got Miami this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But as long as there's somebody, as long as the CFP gives them special rules, they're not going to change anything.
Completely agree. Ute?
They'll be broke.
Okay.
Big Ten will cancel the USC game.
And then you go to the Big Ten. You belong there.
That's extortion.
I don't see them getting broke because as long as NBC.
Yeah, he was teasing.
I'm joking.
Yeah. He's just teasing.
No.
They'll be broker than Big Ten schools, though. Indiana will be richer than them. So
Troll grinding cheap.
Purdue, but Purdue makes a lot more money than they do.
Right? Yeah. It's like, hey, good guy. They just don't have that pot of gold like you'd think they would have and stuff. So
Troll grinding cheap clapper says, great way to get SMU, Stanford, and Cal willingly leave without a fee in order to make the schools who didn't want them happy. Then those 3 schools can join the new Pac-12 along with Rice. Wow, there's an idea.
Let them cook.
That's crazy talk.
Let him cook.
There was a Wilner article that
quick.
There was a Wilner article today talking that Cal and Stanford was not contacted saying about the backfill from the Mountain West.
Right.
So,
they don't want any part of the Pac-12.
No.
Those are dreams. Anybody, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on the show with the Pac-12 people. If they're holding out, they're going to hold their breath for Cal and Stanford, that they will die on the vine. There's no way they're coming back to be in a conference with Boise State. Never. And Fresno. That would never happen. Expedition Greg says Jim Phillips is the George Klavkov of the East Coast. Well, that's true.
Oh, that's so true.
We don't disagree. Caleb Ramirez, that would be just a Band-Aid when the Big Ten and SEC. I'm ready for schools, though ACC schools will leave for them.
Yeah, the
Well, there's no
anti-milking
doubt about
provision.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, one more comment in here, and then we'll get out of here. Oh, there's a super chat I missed moment. I'm sorry. I did
Tony
Ryan's.
Walsh said you missed that Mississippi one, but I think we've got it twice now.
Okay, all right.
I think we got
One more. Let's see. Kalani says, nah, rumor is the proposal isn't school specific, but an extension of the performance-based model that they were talking about earlier. I think I said that earlier. And then David Frame, Virginia Tech's not going to agree to that. That would be uneven revenue share. All right, guys. End of the show. Appreciate everybody who's been with us tonight. Daniel, why don't you give everybody a quick sign out?
Just want to say thank you for being here, and we will see you tomorrow.
Be here tomorrow night. Moen.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I won't be here tomorrow. So enjoy the show. But I will say go back and watch Sunday's Moen After Dark if you want to hear my conspiracy theory on North Carolina State, North Carolina, the AAU conspiracy that I believe is in full effect to maintain Wolfpack backpack.
Okay. Ute.
I'm going to read something verbatim here. This is from the Dellinger article. Details around the new revenue structure remain murky, but leaders have reviewed a plan to create a separate pot of revenue to be divided based on media value metrics. This separate distribution will be specifically tied to a school's television viewership ratings for football and potentially basketball. That is the anti-milking provision. Go Utes.
So, like, just to break that anti-milking thing down, it's not. How can that at all be fair when you have Florida State that's on national television 12 times? You have Wake Forest that's on national television 2 times, and the rest it's on the ACC network. Of course, they're going to be disproportionate. They knew that going in already, though. That's not a change. The only difference is they're going to get paid for those matchups. That's the only difference in all of this. So. I still think that's
might as well just have
crazy.
Like an outside firm like Navigate just give you your valuation and then carve it out from there. That's
exactly.
100%.
Florida State gets 25%. Cut them a check. That's what I would do. All right, everybody. I appreciate you being here tonight. Make sure you follow all of us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Turn on those notifications, and then catch us tomorrow night. Well, me tomorrow night, and we're going to discuss the Pac-12, the G5 schools, and kind of chaos at that level. It should be a lot of fun. Going to have some new creators on it, and we really appreciate it. Yeah, Moen, you got your hand up.
I want to take us out with this.
Sure, go ahead.
Need some milk.
It is some milk. Everybody have a great weekend or great night. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 Eastern. Big freaking Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Join us. All right, see you later. Peace.